Police there letting a police dog gnaw on a 14-year-old who was compliant, already on the ground. And the word gnaw is appropriate when we fill you in with more details here. The findings were published last Wednesday from the DOJ's 2-year investigation into the Louisville Metro Police Department. The Louisville Jefferson County Metro government revealed an officer unleashed his canine on a black 14-year-old who was spotted lying on the ground posing absolutely no threat. As we covered last week, the investigation was launched in the aftermath of Breonna Taylor's 2020 death due to a botched police raid, and that's being kind. So much more went into that. Every time I see that smile, it hurts. It just hurts. She should be here. The larger report concluded the police department, government agency, exhibited a pattern of misconduct, excessive use of force, and discrimination. Details of the dog incident per the report. The police dog incident occurred during a search for a home invasion. The suspect of that, according to the Department of Justice, which reviewed a video of the encounter, the date of the incident, and the name of the officer, not disclosed. DOJ wrote in its report, the officer was leading his dog to search for a person suspected of a home invasion. After searching for several minutes, the officer saw the teenager lying on the ground, face down in the grass. Immediately after noticing the teen, the officer deployed his dog off leash. Without giving any warning, ordered the dog to bite the teen at least 7 times. Again, that's from Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, US Attorney's Office, Western District of Kentucky Civil Division. Despite the teen staying prone and pleading, okay, help, get the dog, please. Officers stood over him, shouting orders for nearly 30 seconds while the dog gnawed on his arm. Officers failed to recognize the teen could not comply with their commands, given the dog's hold on his arm. At one point, an officer shouted, "Stop biting my dog," despite what the video shows. The teen lying still with one arm behind his back, the other arm in the dog's mouth. 14-year-old suffered serious injuries on his arm and back from the bites. Had to go to the Children's Hospital for treatment here. The report included another police dog incident during which the DOJ said officers found a white man lying face up on his back in his boxers with his hands up. The man tried to comply with the officer's orders while the dog continued to bite his foot for nearly a minute. There's more. The DOJ further wrote, in both incidents, officers should not have ordered their dogs to bite the people involved. Both were trying to comply with orders and were not resisting. Because these bites went on for far longer than was necessary, and given the way that officers spoke to these individuals, we have serious concerns that these uses of force were punitive, reflecting a dangerous lack of self-control by the officers and subjecting these individuals to excruciating uses of force far beyond lawful limits. I'll get your global reaction to this report first, Jackson, and then let's talk more specifics about what it means.
So, I mean, when it comes to issues like this, I'm pretty much at the point now where I understand, and most of us understand, that unless there's mass mobilization, especially within local elections, this won't change. It simply won't, because the police units know that there's not much repercussion or consequence. And more importantly, perhaps, there's still a large enough chunk of people within the country who either don't think there's an issue or don't care that there's an issue. And so there's simply too many forces against us in terms of just protesting and making noise about things. That's very important to raise awareness. But at the end of the day, we're simply not involved enough in local elections. We're simply not involved enough in our communities, because this is a problem that can be changed. Even just looking at American history, we've overcome great things, whether that be racial disparities or just working class disparities. Look at the history of unionization in this country, how hard people came together to make different types of visions come true. But at the end of the day, if we don't do better, this won't get better. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, that's just what it is. And I wonder, you mentioned that there's still some people out there. Who are you? And do we need to knock on your, who is left that doesn't understand that? Okay. And maybe they're wearing red hats. But at the end of the day, it appears like the Department of Justice is making the case that this is systemic. But these words that we keep using, they seem lost on people because you pull out an incident here, and I'm all for the transparency and every little detail along the way. But at the end of the day, these aren't bad apples, and this isn't isolated. We don't have proof that this is part of their training, Jackson. You know, I'm searching here, and I want you to get me there. But at the end of the day, it feels like this is how they're training police to behave, right down to the stop fighting my dog, which sounds a lot like stop resisting when no one's resisting. Okay, your dog. Can I have my arm back from your dog?
Well, and I mean, you got to keep in mind too, we got evidence, but there's also a lot of people who believe the earth is flat, which is one of the most ridiculous things that you could possibly believe in modern times. And especially people searching for confirmation bias who exist in echo chambers online. We just simply have to beat these people at the polls. We have to replace people who are at the head of departments because they don't care. Yeah. So it's an unfortunate thing, but I'm just, it's just kind of like we got to fight harder. That's the only solution. There's nothing else we can do.
We got to fight harder, and we got to put, now I do want to go back to individuals. These people must not remain. You get a few cops who are indicted, and you never really touch the ones who stood by and watched or didn't report it, didn't flag it, didn't do what you're supposed to do when you have just, I don't know, a little bit of a moral compass. These people remain in place as if, we could talk about that banking issue out west, right? SVB Bank that was about to have a run on the money. Those people who caused these things still remain, right? When we had Barack Obama come into office and he had to deal with, the auto industry, the banks, mortgages, all these things. Those same people are still making hundreds of millions of dollars. They're in place. They caused it. And so can we not look at this systemic policing problem and say, stop talking just about the system. What about the people in it? And barring them from ever becoming police officers again. And yes, we want them punished, but we can't keep recycling these people.
Yeah, no, I think that's important as well, because I think that's a good point you made about when you kind of look at the system at large, it takes responsibility away from people who are actually committing, these violations. So you have to pay attention to detail across the board. But you're 100% right, just on people who caused the 2008 crash. They're still in, a lot of them are still in the same positions. And with the Silicon Valley Bank, it was the same issue of just making bad investments. You know what I'm saying? People weren't looking for loans, so they made long-term investments and hold to maturity securities. But at the end of the day, it's just about power and who's got it. And if we come together, we can make a change for this. But I really do have hope. But overall, we just have to fight harder. There's no other solution, because they ain't gonna do nothing for us just because we asking.
And apparently the talk that we have to give our black children, our black and brown children, that's not gonna help you either. Lying on the ground, okay, hands up, and you're still attacked and need to be hospitalized. Thank goodness, in this case, the 14-year-old is still alive.